Here it is, every calisthenics skill you should learn in order for your third year of training. Starting this guide off with the iconic 90-degree hold. You'll notice the form setup for this skill is extremely similar to the elbow lever. Keep your hands turned slightly outwards or completely around. You don't have the benefit of keeping your elbows into your stomach. You have to balance with just your arms. When it comes to proper body and hand position, keeping your forearms at 90 degrees is not enough weight distribution. As you extend your hands to hip range, you'll see more bicep activation. See if you can catch what I mean with this comparison. This is an elbow lever, and this is a 90-degree hold. Do you see the difference? There's a bunch of ways to train this skill, but I suggest you start by doing a 90-degree hold with your knees still touching the ground. This can help you get a feeling for the movement. Proceed forward by doing a straddle 90-degree hold. Start like you're in an elbow lever, and continuously move your elbows out. If you start training like this, you'll be sinking into the movement, but you'll get it. Take the progression one step further by keeping one foot on the ground. If you practice this with each leg, you'll definitely be able to get your first 90-degree hold in no time. But if you need more assistance, try parallettes or elevation. Remember, adding elevation is great for providing failure protection. Moving on to number 2, the straddle press handstand. Form setup means placing your hands on the ground shoulder length while you're in a straddle position. As you lean further into your hands, you'll notice you're elevating your scapula. Lift your heels off the ground and compress your core. And lastly, think about driving your toes upwards into the sky. Straight arm presses are no joke, but you can train for this by doing these press walks. It looks a little goofy, but each time you try this, you'll begin to understand the feeling behind this movement. And as you gain strength and experience, you'll begin to float in no time. But if you want more help, try doing press handstands against a wall. But if you're going to do it this way, you want to make sure that when you're pressing your back against the wall, and as you begin to lift your feet, you definitely don't want your skull to be the main leverage like I'm showing you in this clip. You want to make sure the leverage stays on your upper back throughout the entirety of the exercise, as this is what's going to translate to doing it in real life freestanding. I'm not going to lie to you, when you first start out, doing it against the wall is incredibly difficult, but it's necessary for you to master the eccentric and concentric of this exercise, so when you're doing it freestanding, you know exactly what to feel. And we'll master more advanced handstand presses in the future, but the straddle press is something that everybody should learn. Moving forward to number 3, the Pelican Push Up. The Pelican Push Up is a true game changer. It starts out like a regular incline push-up, but you'll notice as you sink further, it'll require a false grip and you'll target more bicep. The next and most important thing is pushing yourself back into neutral. The most helpful way to train this maneuver is on gymnastic rings. So if you're looking for the perfect way to train it, you'll want to use gymnastic rings at a standard height. Then as you gain strength and resilience in the bottom of the movement, you want to move the rings lower, putting more weight onto your body and giving yourself a deeper challenge. This advanced push-up not only builds chest and tricep strength, but it also trains your body for more advanced skills like the planche and front lever that we've been training for the past 3 years. By working through this extended range of motion, we build an insane amount of shoulder stability. Essentially, the Pelican Push-Up helps you unlock strength and mobility for future skills in calisthenics, so you gotta respect it. Proceeding forward to number 4, the almighty dragon squat. Turn your squatting foot inwards. Place your opposite leg's knee into the back of your squatting leg, like so. Begin to raise that leg into the sky and snake it around behind you. And as you begin to work through the negative portion of the exercise, you'll notice that you have to compress your core to a great degree. Getting that leg extended is no joke. So the perfect way to train this is by doing eccentrics, and if that doesn't work, you should do hip adductions. But not just any hip adductions, dragon hip adductions. This replicates the bottom of the dragon squat. Steadily move your chest inward as you gain strength, but no matter what, when you're doing these hip adductions, you want to make sure that you keep your heels on the ground. Otherwise, we're not training this properly, and of course you want to work both sides because we don't want any injuries. Moving on to skill number 5, the straddle front lever. Taking our front lever training a step further from year 2's advanced tuck, we want to work on our straddle position. I think the best way to train this is going to be doing single leg levers like you see here. Remember how your hips and pointing your toes plays a serious role in this. Skill number 6, the gymnastic ring muscle up. I know you're thanking me for year 2 because we've been using that false grip a lot lately. There's 3 things you need to focus on for the perfect ring muscle up. When you pull, keep your elbows tucked towards you. And then as you transition to the pushing motion, you bring your elbows out and up. And never forget to turn your wrist outwards at the top of the rep. Train this maneuver by kipping, the same way we practice the regular muscle up. Skill number 7, the deficit handstand push-up. We've already solidified our handstand push-up. The next thing we want to do is increase the range of motion, recruiting more of our muscle fibers for greater progress in the handstand push-up. Simply use a block or bench, and remember to stay safe as you work into these greater ranges of motion. Don't forget how to bail out of a handstand properly. Skill number 8, furthering our planche progressions. Now that we're on our third year, we should be able to train some one-legged planches. Of course, we're working towards our straddle planche, but we might not be there yet. Use bands as needed. Skill number 9, the straddle 90-degree push-up. As you can see, all the skills we've trained before led to this. Strength won't be the limiting factor here. It'll be technique. Go from a handstand into the 90-degree hold and then press yourself back up. The proper way to train this is going to be eccentrics, going from a handstand into a 90-degree hold. Trust me, you got this. And finally, our second flow is going to be the handstand to kippa. Again, strength is not the limiting factor here. It's going to be technique. Combine the handstand, shoulder stand, and kip up together for a seamless transition. And as we practice the kip up, we're going to train this maneuver by doing a handstand into a roll. I know what you're thinking. This is a drastically less amount of skills than we learned the last couple of years. And you're right. And it's because you're not a beginner anymore. Just like All Might said, level 1 and level 50 power will never develop at the same rate. So congratulations. Make sure to go to STRIQfit.com to check out my calisthenics training app and programs.